Coming here today. I appreciate you taking the time to be here. My name is Tabitha Woodruff, and I'm the advocate for the Ohio Public Interest Research Group, also known as Ohio PIRG. We're a state-based consumer advocacy organization. I'm joined today by Brian Rothenberg, Executive Director of Progress Ohio and fellow Americans for Tax Fairness Coalition partner. With just over a week until tax day, we're here to release Ohio PIRG's new report, Picking Up the Tab: Average Citizens and Small Businesses Pay the Price for Offshore Tax Havens. In just over a week, hardworking people, including small business owners here in Ohio and all around the country, will file their tax returns. Many Americans would be shocked to hear that an invisible tax burden has been placed on them this year by some of the world's largest, most profitable corporations. Offshore tax dodging by large companies and wealthy individuals cost American taxpayers an estimated $150 billion every single year. In today's report, we found that in 2012, the average individual taxpayer in Ohio would need to pay $700 to pick up that tab. Tax dodging is not a victimless offense. When companies use accounting tricks to move their profits to shell companies set up in tax havens, the rest of us have to pick up the tab in the form of cuts to public programs, a larger federal deficit, or higher taxes ourselves. The impact of corporate tax dodging is particularly visible this year as Americans begin to feel the effects of deep cuts to public programs. Many of America's wealthiest individuals and largest corporations use tax loopholes to shift their profits made in America to offshore tax havens like the Cayman Islands and the Bahamas, where they pay little to no taxes on that income. The use of tax havens has become widespread in corporate America. At least 83 of the 100 largest publicly traded corporations stash profits made here in the United States in offshore tax havens. Small businesses are hit especially hard by corporate tax dodging. To cover the cost of corporate tax abuse of tax havens this past year, small business owners in Ohio would have to foot an average bill of $2,361 each. On top of that, large corporations that use tax havens to shrink their tax bill gain an artificial competitive advantage over responsible small business owners. These large corporations take advantage of and benefit from the many public services provided by our tax dollars. It's appalling that these companies then use these tax loopholes to get out of paying for our nation's infrastructure, education system, and security that helped make them successful. Over the past few months, Americans have watched as the government has been forced to make deep cuts to public priorities. Congress continues to squabble over how to deal with the nation's huge budget deficit and a budget fight that promises to last for years to come. But during the budget debate, far too little attention has been paid to the fact that many of the nation's largest and most profitable corporations have quietly shifted their tax burden onto the tax-paying public. One obvious way to ease our fiscal woes would be to close the tax loopholes that let corporations stash their profits in offshore tax havens. This new tax revenue could be used to reduce the deficit or to fund public priorities like investments in public transportation or Pell Grants to send more kids to college. The Cut Unjustified Tax Loopholes Act in the Senate would close the most egregious offshore tax loopholes, yet it has not even been called up for a vote. We urge our representatives in Congress to bring fairness to the tax code by supporting the Cut Loopholes Act. Is it fair that the weight of corporate tax dodgers is being carried by the rest of us? Average taxpayers have little choice but to pay their fair share, and corporations should do the same. With tax day right around the corner, now is an ideal time to point out the invisible tax burden placed on everyday taxpayers by tax dodging. The time for reform is now. This is the answer to our budget woes. I'd now like to introduce Brian.